Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to be solving polynomial inequalities. Now that is different than polynomial equations, which we've already looked at how to solve that, make it equal to 0, factor, or isolate the x. But in this case, an inequality just means instead of an equal sign, you're going to have a less than sign, or a greater than or equal to sign, or these weird signs that are not equal, they're less than or greater than. And we're first going to look at, just like we did with the polynomial equations, are linear equations, the ones that don't have squares. Like, see these x's, they're all just plain old x's. And the nice thing about inequalities when they're linear is you can simply just pretend that less than or greater than sign is an equal sign, for the most part. So the first one, for sure, we say x plus 1 is less than 3. I want to solve for x, just like before, we're going to isolate x. Okay, so that means I'm going to move the negative 1 over, or the 1 over by subtracting. So it's going to go over here, you're going to change the sign of it, so it's going to be 3 minus 1, and there we have solved our inequality. We say x then must be less than 2. Okay, now we're going to try a harder one. Okay, and again, like a linear equation, I can't do it with that bracket, so our first step is just to remove the bracket by multiplication. So minus 6x minus 24 greater than or equal to 2x plus 6. And now it's a linear equation. Well, I'll put those two together. 5x minus 6x is minus 1x minus 24 greater than or equal to 2x plus 6. Now I'm going to move the x's onto this side and the numbers onto this side. So we're going to negative 1x minus 2x greater than or equal to, we just treat it like an equal sign, 6 plus 24 minus 3x greater than 30. Now, I'm going to stop for a minute because remember I said just treat it like an equal sign and, you know, go ahead and isolate your x. And that's all well and good. But there's one extra problem, and that is if I go to divide or multiply by a negative. Because, of course, if we have a number like 2, which we know is less than 6, or when we say negative 2, sorry, never mind, 2 is less than 6, but if I went to divide both sides of that by negative 2, which you can do, you know, if you do it the same thing, you'd end up with negative 1 is less than negative 4, which we know it's not, right? Because on the number line, here's negative 1, here's negative 4 down here, it's less. Because the bigger numbers in the negatives are actually less. So that it's just one little problem. So we don't really have to think too much about that. All we have to remember is when we're solving inequalities, linear ones, we treat that exactly like an equal sign, except if you divide or multiply, which is unlikely, usually it's divide, by a negative. If you do both sides by a negative, you have to switch the direction of the sign. And by sign, I mean the inequality sign. So that sign right there. So right now, I'm at a place where I want to divide both sides by negative 3, which I can do. It's just that when I'm done doing that, I have to, instead of that being greater, remember, it switches around. So it's now going to be less than or equal to negative 10. So just remember, when you're doing linear inequalities, treat that exactly like an equal sign. Don't even think too hard about it, except if you're dividing or multiplying by a negative. Then you need to switch the direction of the inequality sign.